Welcome to Smart Info. Now, before we begin, imagine the ground beneath your feet. It's hot and cracked, not from age, but from the sun. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of almost baked clay, dust, and distant fires. You are not royalty. You are not a priest. You're someone born into the lower half of a world that's just learning to govern itself. You probably wouldn't last a day. There are many more stories like this, and we'll be sharing them all with you. So stay tuned and subscribe. Welcome. Are you with me? Somewhere quiet, somewhere gentle, far from the clamor of traffic or crowds or the hum of screens. Here the air is warm and still, like the breath of a sleeping giant. The ground beneath our feet is soft, sun-baked earth, cracked by a relentless sun and whispering tales of a civilization long gone. Around us, the ruins of a great city slumber, their ancient secrets safe in the dark embrace of the earth. Here in Mesopotamia, the world's first true civilization took root, reaching back nearly 5,000 years. Imagine the weight of all that time, the layers of stories buried beneath our feet, just waiting for us to uncover them. This land between rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, cradled the first known attempts at writing, farming, and kingship. It was here that men first dared to dream of a life beyond hunting and gathering, where they could stay in one place, build something lasting, maybe even create their own gods. But it wasn't easy. Life here was slow and muddy and hot, and the gods demanded a heavy toll from every living thing. Even breathing, even existing, was a duty owed to the divine powers that shaped their world. Now, in the first hour, we're walking in your shoes, a humble laborer in a Sumerian city-state, where the temple dominates the skyline and the king's power seems limitless. Every brick wall we pass, every basket of grain we carry, is another prayer whispered to the gods for protection, for a good harvest, for a moment's rest from the endless cycle of work. The air is thick with the scent of mud and the murmur of countless voices, each telling their silent story to the eternal stillness. We see the first tentative attempts at writing clay tablets etched with wedge-shaped marks recording the deeds of kings, the births of children, the debts of neighbors, all under the watchful gaze of a priest-king who claims to speak for the gods themselves. In the second hour, we step behind the scenes of history, tracing the rise of a new king, Sargon the Great, whose name echoes through the ages. We watch as he builds an empire that will stretch from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea, creating a cultural legacy that would influence the world for millennia. Yet we also know that his empire, like all empires, will one day crumble to dust, leaving only whispers of its former glory in the wind. In the third hour, we kneel beside archaeologists, uncovering the lost tombs and ziggurats of yore, the home of Abraham, where kings once ruled and untold riches lay buried. We feel the hush of time around us as we brush away centuries of dust, revealing treasures of bone and gold, each shard whispering tales of a life once lived. And lastly, in the fourth hour, we pass through the high halls of Babylon, where scribes record laws and dreams on wet clay tablets, their reeds scratching out the first great stories of mankind. Here, amidst the shadows of ancient columns, we find echoes of the Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's first great poem, a testament to the human spirit's endless quest for meaning and immortality. So ends our journey tonight, a silent walk through the cradle of civilization, where the whispers of the past still linger in the wind. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more such experiences. Till next time, may the ancient echoes of Mesopotamia resonate in your dreams. This is what it was like to be poor in ancient Mesopotamia. Imagine the ground beneath your feet is warm, not with age, but with the sun. The air is heavy, almost thick with the scent of baked clay, dust, and distant fires. You are not royalty. You are not a priest. You are someone born into the lower half of a world that's just learning how to run itself. It's sometime around 2400 BCU. Live in the city of Uruk, or perhaps Lagash. But it hardly matters, because the rhythm of your life would be much the same. A day begins before the sun. Your day begins long before the sun rises.
Oh.
The room you sleep in, a single mud brick chamber, is small and cool in the early morning, but soon it will grow unbearable. You awaken not to an alarm, but to the slow murmur of neighbors stirring. Someone is already outside, pulling at a stubborn goat. Someone else coughs. Your bedding is nothing more than woven reed mats laid over compacted dirt. Beside you sleeps your sibling, or your child, or an elderly parent. There's little privacy here, and even less rest. You rise, the city is waking. And whether your work is in the fields, at the temple bakery, or repairing canal walls, you'll be walking there, always under that sun. Water, mud, and responsibility, the Tigris and Euphrates give life, but they also take it. The rivers flood unpredictably, sometimes too little water, sometimes too much. Your job might involve maintaining irrigation canals, digging trenches with wooden tools in your bare hands. The mud squelches underfoot. It sticks to everything. Shoveling, it is exhausting. Mosquitoes swarm. The midday sun beats down, and your skin burns despite the dust caked over it. The water is often unclean, but still essential. You drink cautiously. You get sick anyway. There are no antibiotics here. There's no pain relief beyond fermented barley. Sometimes the gods are blamed for illness, sometimes the neighbors. Sometimes no one is blamed at all, it simply happens. Wages paid in barley and beer, you are paid not in silver, but in rations. A few measures of barley, perhaps a jug of sour beer, or a portion of dried onions. There is no currency for people like you. Barley is life. Barley is tax. Barley is sacrifice. Some days when rations run thin, you may have to barter a mat for a fish, a bowl for a scrap of wool. Everything is counted. Everything has its place in the temple's ledgers. Even you, you're not a slave. But in many ways you are tethered to the land and to your labor with invisible cords you didn't choose. Temples and watchful gods, the ziggurat looms above the city. You see it from almost anywhere. It's where priests offer incense, animals, and prayers to Inanna, Enlil, or whichever god oversees your city-state. You believe they watch you not metaphorically, but literally. The gods can smell your breath, hear your words, and punish disobedience with drought or fever. So you offer a sliver of barley when you can, a whispered prayer. Sometimes you kneel by the temple gate and close your eyes, not out of faith, but fear. Always the scribes write it all down, every offering, every debt, every sin. Returning home, if you're lucky as the sun fades, the streets grow quiet. Children chase each other with scraps of cloth. Someone plays a flute near the well. Breeze is soft, but never quite enough. You return to your home, exhausted. The food is coarse, the beer sour, the sleep restless. Still, you've survived another day. That is no small thing. No one in Mesopotamia expected comfort, just survival. A steady rhythm. Work, breath, obedience, and dust. The city is behind us now. Canals, the clay walls, the temple bells, they grow quiet, fading into the slow winds of memory. Now we drift further back, not into the life of a laborer, but into the footsteps of a man who would come to reshape Mesopotamia itself, though he was born far from its thrones. He is known to us as Sargon of Akkad, a name meaning the true king, though he was not born a king. In fact, he may not have even been born free. A baby in a basket, Sargon's early life is cloaked in stories, half history, half legend. He was said to have been placed in a reed basket as a child and set adrift on a river, much like the tale of Moses centuries later. Perhaps his mother was of low status. Perhaps his birth was inconvenient. Perhaps the story is entirely myth. We do not know. But Sargon would rise, serve first as a cupbearer to a Sumerian king. A trusted court position, yes, but not one of power. He poured wine. He stood beside the throne, and in doing so, he listened. He watched. He learned how rule works. And then, one day he took it. Founding an empire with quiet ambition and calculated force, Sargon seized power and declared himself ruler, not just of a city, but of many. He formed what historians now call the Akkadian Empire, the first known empire in recorded history. City after city fell under his control. From the marshes of the south to the mountainous north, Sargon's troops, loyal, disciplined, and centrally commanded, extended his reach like the widening shadow of a ziggurat at dusk. He placed family members in charge of conquered territories. He used standardized weights and measures, shared language, and controlled trade routes to bind his lands together. But even in victory, he walked carefully. He didn't erase the gods of the cities he conquered. Instead, he honored them, respected their temples, paid their priests. This was not just military conquest. It was religious diplomacy, a balance of force and formality, the shape of power imagined now. The city of Akkad, its location still lost to time, but its presence once undeniable. A planned capital filled with administrative buildings, perhaps wide plazas, and a palace from which Sargon governed with the help of scribes, generals, and governors. We know little about Akkadi's precise shape, but we know that Sargon's reign lasted for over 50 years, longer than most dynasties would endure. He called himself king of the four quarters of the world, a title bold and encompassing. But even titles could not hold back the tide of time. As the years passed, rebellions stirred. Cities resisted Akkadian control. Crops failed. Climate patterns may have shifted, rivers changing course, rainfall decreasing. With famine came unrest, and with unrest came dissent. Though Sargon subdued many uprisings in his lifetime, the cracks were forming. After his death, his successors, particularly his grandson Naram-Sin, would rule with similar ambition. But eventually the empire buckled. The land was tired. The gods were silent, and history moved on. Still, Sargon remained a symbol of power and Mesopotamian memory. Later kings would claim descent from him. His name appeared in scribes' lists for generations. Sargon's story is not filled with noise. There are no dramatic battles preserved in epic. Instead, we see his legacy in slow, careful changes, the idea of empire, the use of centralized authority, the shaping of kingship as something beyond mere sea. He left no tomb that we can find. No palace walls survive to bear his mark, but his shadow stretches long. Even in the quiet, even in the dust, Sargon remains. We leave behind the living now. The voices of empires fall quiet. The kings fade. The laborers sleep. And we step gently into the stillness of the earth itself, where the remains of ancient lives wait, nestled beneath layers of time. We are standing now near the ziggurat of yore, one of the great surviving monuments of Mesopotamia. Its towering silhouette once pierced the flat horizon of the southern desert, each level rising higher, a sacred staircase between heaven and earth. But we are not climbing it. We are descending into the ground beside it, down into the soft dust and packed clay where tombs have long been hidden, and we are not alone. It is the 1920s. The sun hangs low over the Iraqi plain, and a quiet team of archaeologists works slowly. Brushes, picks, notebooks, shadows. At their center is Sir Leonard Woolley, a British archaeologist, patient, precise, and unaware of what he is about to find. Day after day, the earth yields little things, beads, bits of bone, broken pottery, but then a chamber, sealed, undisturbed. Inside is something different, something remarkable. They have found what would come to be called the royal tombs of yore, a series of elaborately buried individuals surrounded by ornaments, tools, offerings, and people. Gold daggers, shell inlays, harps with bull-headed decorations, and bodies. Woolley's team uncovers not just the remains of rulers, but dozens of attendants laid neatly beside them, perhaps sacrificed to serve their masters in the afterlife. But no gore here. No detailed violence, just arrangement, just silence. It is a still tableau, the end of a ritual long forgotten. Among these is one of the most celebrated discoveries, the tomb of Queen Pwabi. Her burial chamber is extraordinary. Richly adorned woman, wearing a headdress of gold leaves, lapis lazuli beads, and carnelian stones, lies untouched by time. Her name is preserved in cuneiform on a cylinder seal. Pwabi. Lady of yore. Unlike most royal women of her time, she is not listed with a husband's name. Perhaps she ruled in her own right. Her tomb is compact, but carefully arranged. Musical instruments rest nearby, as do drinking vessels and decorative pins. Things meant to accompany her into whatever world lay beyond. It's not the opulence that lingers in the mind. It's the intention, the preparation, the care. Someone believed she would wake again. What these tombs show is not just wealth, it is belief. A belief in order, in duty after death, in ritual that echoes long after life has passed. The Mesopotamians did not build pyramids. They left no mummies. But they honored the dead, especially those of high status, with offerings that spoke of status, of stories, of gods. The royal tomb suggests a connection between political power and divine destiny. To be buried with such richness was not merely about luxury. It was about cosmic alignment, about continuing one's service to the gods. Even in death, hierarchy endured. Over the years, much of what was found at Ur was taken. 2 museums in London and Philadelphia, pieces scattered like the people who once made them. But the site itself remains, quiet, sunlit, watched over by that massive ziggurat, weathered now, but still standing. Did beneath it, still more secrets, still more chambers, still more people waiting, anonymously, in the dark. You are an ancient Mesopotamian scribe. You record the deeds of kings. You count the goods of merchants. Even record the dreams of priests. Every day you dip your quill into ink made of soot and gum Arabic and trace signs onto clay tablets. These will last for ages. But what kind of person were you? What was your life like? Let's find out. It's the height of the Bronze Age. Somewhere around 2000 BC, you are a subject of the mighty king Hammurabi, who has just conquered all of Babylonia. You live in a small city, one of many the empire rules over. Life here is good, peaceful even. The fields are full, the king is generous, and the temple is prosperous. Many people live in the city, farmers, merchants, artisans, and a few priests and scholars. There are even 2 of your kind, a scribe, like you and a priest. Scribes are rare because not everyone can read and write. Most people in ancient Mesopotamia were illiterate. They could not even sign their own name. But you can. You have spent years learning the art of inscribing clay with a sharp instrument called a stylus. You know how to shape its tip into different angles to form wedge-shaped marks, and you know the precise pressure needed to stamp them into the soft clay, so they last forever. This skill is your power. It lets you keep records, play the part of an intermediary, and even get ahead. In the morning, you might help the temple priest record offerings brought by worshippers. Later, you might tally up silver and grain for a merchant. When a farmer brings his produce to the marketplace, he asks you to weigh his grain and write down the amount in neat lines. You do it without fuss. Everyone knows you take pride in your work. You are about to hand back the tablet when a soldier approaches. He asks for a list of all able-bodied men in the city. You comply immediately. Such requests are not uncommon. Kings love to know how many men they can raise to fight their wars. As a scribe, you are respected, but not rich. You wear plain clothes. You do not own much besides your precious stylus. And you eat plain food, mostly vegetables, fruit, and fish. Meat is rare. Sometimes a farmer gives you extra grain or fruit from his field. Once a wealthy merchant gives you a bracelet made of gold and lapis lazuli. You accept these gifts, but only because it is rude to refuse them. You do not crave luxuries. You do not want power. You are happy with your lot in life. You know the value of your work, and that is enough. Would you like to try writing in cuneiform yourself? Try our interactive story for a chance to be an ancient Mesopotamian scribe? What would you do? I'm waiting for your comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my Smart Info channel to hear more stories like this.